means to you. So.
Oh, now. Oh, okay. All right. In terms of what safer sex means to me, well, first of all, I think there's no such thing as safe sex. There's only safer sex. So maybe that would be my contribution.
Good one. Yes. Or if you have any contribution to make, you can just give me a little wave. Yeah.
For me, safe sex is sex that is, first of all, is consensual, but also that like is protected. So whether you're using a condom or you're using a dental dam or like things like that.
Any more contributions? Okay. So, okay, so I actually put down eight different points that came to mind when I thought about safer sex. And I think the most obvious one is protection from sexually transmitted infections. That's the most obvious one. I randomly asked a few people, what does safer sex mean to you? And most of them, like Fatima did, they talk about protecting yourself from infections. That's a big one. That's a big one. And it's your responsibility. And it's your responsibility to protect yourself, but it's also your responsibility to protect people you choose to engage in sex with. So it's important if you have new partners, you have multiple partners, for you all to get tested, so that you know your status pretty much. It's important to have the conversation. When you meet someone, have the conversation, make sure they know their status, make sure they are taking precautions to protect themselves, but also to protect you from catching infections. There are so many forms of protection, so just do the research, have the conversation, and make sure you're being responsible. Okay. To someone else, safer sex might be avoiding an unwanted pregnancy, because bringing a child into this world is no joke. And having an abortion is no joke either. It's a surgical procedure. There are harms involved. So safer sex to someone might be avoiding an unwanted pregnancy. And when that is your concern, you do the needful. You use a condom. There's so many forms of contraception you can use to protect yourself. If you're using like the calendar method, do your research, make sure you do it right. None of the methods are 100% accurate, but at least just be responsible if that is your concern. Fatima mentioned consent, which is a big one. I found something that I found pretty catchy. A reminder, when you speak about consent, you say consent is as easy as fries. So the F, consent should always be freely given. It shouldn't be coerced. If it's been unduly influenced by other factors, then it's not true consent. It's not really consent. Consent should be freely given. Consent is reversible. So the fact that I agreed to do so and so and so with you doesn't mean I can't change my mind at any point in time. Everyone has a right to decide what happens with their own bodies. So if you wanted to and you change your mind, even if you're already in the room, you're naked, and you change your mind, it's your right, it's your body. So consent is always reversible. Consent should be informed. You should have all the information you need to decide whether or not it's something you wish to engage in. So unless it's someone you know very well or you trust completely, you should understand exactly what it is you are consenting to, what you're agreeing to do. So freely given, reversible, informed. Consent should be enthusiastic. Sex is pleasurable. Sex is something you should desire, something you want to do. It's not something you should do because you think it's expected of you or because if you don't do it, there are certain repercussions, then it's no longer freely given. It should be enthusiastic. It should be something you want to do for yourself because it's your body. And then finally, consent should be specific because there's such a wide spectrum of sexual acts. So if you consent to one, does not necessarily mean you've consented to all of them. So be clear. Be clear with your partner. Be clear with your partners what it is you are consenting to or what it is you are asking them to do. So make sure, one, you're very clear in giving consent, but also make sure you're clear in receiving consent from whoever you're engaging with. Make sure they're on the same page as you and they are willing to engage with you. And children are not able to give consent. A child cannot say, I wanted to do that with you. They're not mature enough to give you consent. Someone who is intoxicated is not able to give consent. You have to be your full mind and body for true consent to be given. So we've talked about sexually transmitted diseases, we've talked about unwanted pregnancies, we've talked about the issue of consent, and there's the issue of sexual abuse, sexual assault, rape, defilement. It's very sad, but it seems to be very rampant in society. When the conversation comes up, the stories are so many. It's something that happens, and it's not socially acceptable, but I personally feel like the repercussions are not enough. Like, people are not deterred enough. So what we can do from our own little man's place is to take responsibility for ourselves and the people around us. Don't put yourself in situations where it's possible for someone to harm you, because the world is not a beautiful, pretty place all the time. There are bad people out there. So be conscious of your surroundings. If you're going out, make sure you're going with people you trust, people you know. If you're going to be partying, have someone who's going to look out for you, just so you're protected at all times, because it happens. And also, don't be the person who is assaulting someone else. Or she's playing hard to get, maybe, or the no doesn't really mean no. Don't be that person, because abuse really scars people for life. It traumatizes them in ways that affect like so many other parts of their life. So just don't be the guy or the girl who abuses or assaults someone else, and look out for yourself and look out for each other. It's something to be aware of. Okay. I think safe sex should also be judgment-free. It should be a safe space where you are free to express yourself. You're free to engage in things that bring you pleasure, things you want to do without fear of judgment, without fear of being ridiculed or outed. Like, it should be an intimate agreement between two or more people on, like, just being free. Like, the best sex is judgment free. You should be free to express your fantasies and your desires. So to me, a safe space for sex also includes being a judgment-free zone. Refer to my notes quickly. So sometimes we read about things in books or see things done in the movies or the porn videos or stuff, BDSM, sex toys, all kinds of enhancement products, and maybe it looks interesting, we want to try it. But some of these things, when not used properly, can actually end up causing you bodily harm. So if you decide BDSM looks interesting, I want to try bondage, that particular sex toy is something I want to try, just take a little time to do a little research to understand how the manufacturer intended for it to be used, or how to safely engage in those activities. For example, if you want to explore bondage and you haven't done good research and you tie the ropes at certain parts of the body, you tie them too tight, you can actually restrict blood flow, which can cause harm to someone. Or if you decide to use a cock ring. Cock rings are not supposed to be worn for more than 30 minutes max because they're actually forcing the blood flow to stay in the penis, the erection. That's what they do. They are locking the erection in place. And if you didn't do your research and you decided to wear it for your whole 1 hour, 2 hour session, you can actually cause real harm to your penis. Bullet vibrators, for example, they're not made to be inserted. They're made for external stimulation only. But if you say, oh, I want a vibrator, which type? This one is cute, take it, it's a vibrator, and you insert it. It can actually go up further and go and get lost in your cervix or something. So I'm just saying there's a wonderful world of sex enhancement products, different activities, different fetishes you can engage in. But take some time to learn, to be experts at what you're doing. Learn how they're meant to be used and use them properly to keep yourself safe. And then lastly, sex to me is meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to be pleasurable. It's not meant to be an unpleasant, painful ordeal that one must endure. Because of the business I run, I talk to many people about sex. And I've come across so many people who do not enjoy sex in their long-term committed relationships. They've been with the same person 10 years, 15 years, 12 years, and an orgasm is still a foreign concept to them, and they think sex is just for their partner. It's something I have to roll over and do when my partner wants it. But safe sex should be about mutual pleasure. It should be something you look forward to, something you enjoy. So make the effort to be a good lover, but also own your own pleasure and make sure you don't just accept your fate that sex is not good, I'm just going to do it for my partner. Sex is wonderful. So safe sex should also be enjoyed and pleasurable for everyone. So I'm hoping a few people have some contributions regarding what safe sex means to them, or any contributions about anything I've talked about, or a different dimension of safer sex that I didn't mention.
Thank you. At times you don't feel like having sex, and with that maybe your partner also need the sex, and for that matter you have your armpit or your breast or your thigh, so that you can do it already, and with that you will be fine.
Thank you. That was a great point.
I really like Mariama's tip. I'd never thought about that. Ooh. I think the point I wanted to make is because you mentioned rape and sexual assault, and maybe you don't put yourself in certain situations, and I kind of think that's a dangerous message, and I don't want people to ever feel like if they've been raped, they put themselves in the situation. So that is the contribution I want to make.
So I should have clarified when I said that, actually, because I did have the same thoughts, and it's never the victim's fault. It's never okay for anyone to assault anyone. But what I was merely suggesting is we be aware that there are bad people out there, so we be conscious and just try and make an extra effort to keep ourselves protected. Because even though it was not your fault, when it happens to you, it can ruin your life. So it's never the victim's fault. I should have clarified.
Hello, I also wanted to add that sex is not really about penetration all the time. There are different types of sex. So you might probably not like penetration. That does not mean you're not in the mood for sex. Maybe you're in the mood for oral, you're in the mood for stimulation, etc. So we shouldn't limit ourselves to just penetration. Even if you're in a hetero relationship, when it's you and a man, there are so many ways of getting pleasure, and we should explore. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other contributions on safer sex before we move on to the fun part? Okay. So how to make sex more fun? This time I won't go first. I want you guys to go first, so we can all learn from each other. What are ways in which you all make your sex more fun? Can some new people speak? Anyone? Please. Should I come to you? Oh, yay. Thank you.
With me, basically, how to make sex fun is to just loosen up and just be yourself and enjoy the moment, right? No restrictions, no pulling back or anything. Just letting yourself go and then just enjoying the moment. Because I also think that like sex is also about just being vulnerable, right? So just not just holding on and with the whole masculine yabema kind of thing. Like, no, that's not the time for that. So just let loose. Anything, anyhow, any way it goes, just enjoy it. So yeah.
I also should stop having the idea that we are supposed to pleasure our partner. It is supposed to be both. So if you are going into sex, you should have the idea that you're going to please yourself as much as you want to please your partner, but like you first, so you get to enjoy it more, stimulate yourself and everything.
So I think Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong. I think what Tracy was saying is that don't only focus on your partner's pleasure, but make yourself a priority as well, and don't leave the entire responsibility of your pleasure at your partner's gate, but own it and pleasure yourself as well. That's what you meant, right?
I think communication is important between amongst us as human beings, and it is equally important when it comes to sex. And so your partner may have had a certain background, orientation when it comes to sex. You may have had a certain experiences when it comes to sex. And so when he comes and they want to impress you, but for all you know, all he's doing is not even tickling you. And so I think he or she is doing doesn't tickle you. I think for me, communication in sex is very, very important, because if you don't tell him that, okay, I like you playing with my ears or with my nipples or this, he will not be able to pleasure you for you to have that fun. And so we must be equally open in the communication we have about and during sex, and it will be fun.
Yeah, well spoken. In fact, you've done well, because I always teach my friend, go this way, go that way. Yeah, so that will be fine. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
I was going to add that for me, making sex fun, part of it is also allowing room for awkward moments, because sex is not always perfect like in porn. Like, you're not always sexy. Sometimes you're not wearing makeup, you're just as you are, and sometimes awkward things happen, and if it's funny, laugh.
Thank you, Fatima. Any more contributions? Okay, I'll dive into my 2 cents. Okay, so my first point was that we go to school for years to learn whatever careers it is we choose. We are taught how to cook, or we follow recipe channels, or like we learn how to do stuff. We were not born knowing. I know sex is a very natural thing, but then you're not born knowing how to be an excellent lover. Some people are naturally blessed, and everything they touch, pow. Most of us are mere mortals, and we actually have to make an effort. We have to be intentional about improving our sex skills. And there's a wealth of knowledge and information freely available on the World Wide Web, or through conversations like this. Just make it a thing to improve your sexual prowess. Learn new skills, communicate with your partner, try new things. Like, make it a mission to improve. Okay? Be intentional about it. And not only about being a good lover for your partner, but for yourself as well. Like Tracy said, you need to own your orgasm. You need to know what pleases you. Because if you don't even know your body, how are you going to direct your partner to please you? Maybe he was a fantastic lover with someone else, or she was a fantastic lover with someone else, but all those buttons they used to push that worked for that person, it doesn't do it for you. So explore your bodies, explore yourselves, know what you like, and don't be afraid to ask for it, so that you are pleased, and then you are also a good lover and you please your partner. Okay, it's a two-way street. And then along the same lines, you need to invest time, you need to invest effort, and sometimes you need to invest money in just getting little things that will jazz up your sex life. Maybe it might be mood lighting in your bedroom, or some aromatherapy massage oil. It could be a scented candle, it could be lingerie, it could be a sex toy, it could be erotic books, it could be some porn. Like, there's just so many things you can invest in to add some spice and spark to your love lives. Okay? Be open-minded and non-judgmental. You might hear something that sounds outrageous, but don't knock it if you haven't tried it, because chances are there's something to it. That's why people are doing it. So be open-minded. Not everything is for everyone. There are certain acts that one person might draw a line at, no, this does not appeal to me at all, I don't want to do it. You don't have to. But then don't knock it until you have tried it. Just be open-minded. Those you are comfortable with, try some new things. Sex, let's see this. There are only so many ways you can have sex, right? I would have said mouth, genitals. Now we can add armpits. I already know about breast, inner thigh. But then if you don't switch up other factors, chances are, unless you are switching up partners, if you are with the same partner year after year, chances are it's going to get boring. So this is where you have to start getting more creative. You have to find different things you can vary, just to make it fresh, just to make it new. Because no matter how much you love a person, or no matter how much you love maybe a particular sex position, if it's the same thing over and over and over again, it tends to get boring. So try new things, switch things up, be fresh. It could be varying sex positions. There are like so many sex positions out there. Some of them might look awkward. You topple and fall down. But try them. Try new things. Try having sex in different places. Different parts of your house, or not even your house. Take it to the office. Take it to outside locations. Just switch it up. Be fresh. Role play, so that today you are someone completely different. You can role play with your partners and be someone completely new, just to keep some freshness in the relationship. We have 5 senses, but we tend to, well, majority of people tend to focus mostly on touch. When we are talking about sex, they focus mostly on touch. And even if we take touch alone, there's so many different types of touch that you can experiment with. You can play with different textures, like whips versus feathers versus pinwheels. There's soft touch, light touch, so many different parts of the body to touch. It's easy to go straight from kissing to the breasts to the genitals. But the whole skin, our whole skin is an organ, and it's filled with nerves, and we have so many other sensitive spots. So explore your whole bodies, explore different parts, find new erogenous zones, just to make it more interesting. You can play with different temperatures. You can play with ice. You can play with like heated lubricants or massage oils, or even just candle wax for heat. Wearing lace versus wearing silk versus wearing satin. Just play with the different textures, but then also rope in your other senses. All the 5 senses have roles to play when it comes to sex, because usually the first line of attraction is you saw something you liked. That's usually the first sense that is engaged before the conversation even begins, and then it leads to getting down. So tantalize them, like give them something good to look at. Give your partner something good to look at. Be conscious about how you look, your surroundings, mood lighting. All that helps to create an ambience, helps you to switch it up. Music. Certain music can put you, different people have different vibes, but certain music can put you in your sexy time mood. I have certain songs that once they come on, I feel my waist wants to start grinding. So music is a good element to rope into your sex lives. Talking, we talked about communication. Talking, that's engaging hearing. It can be dirty talk, it can be terms of endearment, it can be just guidance. But talking, moaning, there's a difference between having sex with a completely mute person versus having sex with someone who is a bit more expressive. So all I'm saying is that there are so many different ways to engage your senses and to rope them in, and that gives you more avenues to switch things up, make it more fun, keep it fresh. We haven't talked about taste. Does anyone have any interesting stories about how to rope in taste? I know you have one. You're giving me side eyes. Okay, so kissing with fruit, for example. Kissing with fruit, or kissing with champagne or wine or chocolate, flavored lip balm. It just makes it different, makes it more interesting. We have edible lubricants, yes. Edible lubricants, edible massage oils, body chocolate, or regular chocolate, whipped cream, ice cream. So many things you can lick and eat off your lover's body. So you can rope in your taste buds as well to make sex more fun and interesting. And it's easy to get it's easy to focus so much on the destination, the orgasm. Like, did she come? Did he come? How do I make her come? How do I make him come? That you forget to enjoy the journey there. Like you're just worried about how am I performing, how am I doing, are we gonna get there? But the whole thing, right from the beginning, is meant to be enjoyed. It's all enjoyable. Even if you don't reach the orgasm, you could have had like wonderful sex without climaxing. So just remember to be present and enjoy the whole journey, not just the destination, because it's all pleasurable and wonderful. Okay. And then the last thing on my list is the wonderful world of sex toys, because that's what I do. It's a huge, huge, huge industry of people who are actually sitting in labs, inventing products to give pleasure, to make sex better, to improve performance. And there are just so many interesting things that you can use to spice up your sex lives. What I find usually when I have sex toy discussions with people is when they hear sex toys, the first thing that comes to mind is dildos and vibrators. For many people, it doesn't even go beyond there. But there's just so much more. Not that dildos and vibrators are bad. I have quite a few myself. They are not bad. But then they are not the end-all and be-all of sex toys. It's a much broader universe of sex toys out there. Something as basic as lubricant can change someone's sex life, because for any number of reasons, health issues, hormones fluctuating, maybe you might be experiencing dryness, which then makes penetration difficult or painful. Something as simple as a lubricant can solve that problem for you. And apart from just the basic lubrication, they have modified them. We talked about edible lubricants. There are lubricants that have like extra arousal products. We have cooling lubricants, warming lubricants, tingling lubricants. They have all kinds of extras in them. So just something as basic as lubricants can step up your sex life a notch. We talked about engaging your senses. We have a lot of edible products that were actually designed specifically for sexual play. So instead of using household products that may or may not be safe for your intimate regions, you can use products that were actually researched and created for that purpose, knowing full well that this product is not going to make me break out in an infection or something like that. We have lots of edible products you can use. The vibrators I talked about, they have some really interesting ones these days, and they've been created to target like your clitoris or your G spot or the P spot. Like they are made so. I'll show you a few. But they are really effective at what they are created to do. Like the orgasm, I've met many people tell me, like, seriously, I don't think this thing's going to work for me. Like, I've never come before, or only once in a while. And then they come back and like, whoa, like just once. Like it took literally 2 minutes, because they are powerful. They're really powerful. And they were created for this specific purpose. So we also have sex toys that are meant to like, for example, men with erectile dysfunction or with any number of issues. We have sex toys that are made to help them overcome these issues. We have penis pumps for someone who struggles to get erect. We have penis pumps that can actually manually pump up your erection, and then you lock it in with a cock ring, and then you can go ahead and have sex. We have extenders for someone who, either you or your partner, would like to experience more length or more girth. We have extenders you can put on. We have strap-ons. We have dual-ended strap-ons. We have vibrating strap-ons. We have all kinds of things for bondage. The cuffs, the whips, the pinwheels, the gags, the blindfolds. There's just so many things. We have sex games. sex games to make it more fun. Some of them are dice games, board games, card games, and they just add a more fun and spontaneous element. So if, for example, it's a sex position sex game, you're heading in for an encounter, you don't know what's going to happen because you're leaving it up to chance. You play the game and you perform whatever act that you end up with. So there are just a lot of interesting things that I encourage you to explore, and you might find one or two or three that tickle your fancy that you can introduce into your bedrooms, into your sex play, because sex is not limited to the bedroom. Okay. Any questions, contributions, or should I start pulling from my bag of tricks? Okay. So I just grabbed a couple of random things. I'm just going to pull and see what I get. This one here is a masturbator, a male masturbator. Okay. It's made to mimic vaginal entry. We have some that are mouths, we have some that are anuses, and then we have some that are vaginas. And it simply makes the hand job a little more easier because it's this tight textured sleeve that a man would slip over his penis during masturbation. This is just one of many. We have a lot of lifelike ones. There's actually this really big one that looks like a whole big fat ass that we sell, but it's quite big and it's quite heavy. This little thing here is one of my favorite things. It's called Nipple Nibbler, and it's just a tingle balm, a flavored tingle balm that you apply to your nipples so that when your nipples are sucked, it tastes good for your partner. I also use it on my lips so that the kiss tastes good. It's just a tiny little balm. It comes in many interesting flavors. It's not very expensive, and I miss that. You're saying, I think it's 22 or 25 or somewhere around the 20s. Yeah. And usually my pots, it lasts me quite a while because you don't need a whole big chunk. You need just a little bit. I don't use it every day. I use it when I need it. Yeah. That's one of the things I like a lot. This here is a chocolate body pen. So you get to write sexy, sweet, dirty things on your partner and then lick it off. Or you can write on yourself for someone else to lick off. It's just a chocolate pen. We have whips. We sell so many whips. I'm still trying to understand why we sell so many whips. I don't know if it's because majority of the people enjoy pain, or if people are using it as a prop. Like I've always wondered, but we sell a lot of whips, and we have them in many shapes, sizes, colors. So all you who like pleasure is pain. Rubber pen. Okay. This is one of. It's on already. So this toy is really expensive, but we still sell so many of them because it's really that good. It's a dual-ended vibrator. This side is pointed this way to target the G-spots. It runs through several functions, probably 10 functions or something. But then what makes it more interesting is this end. I don't have the suction cup, but it sucks and licks. So you can see the tongue. It actually licks, but then there's a vacuum suction cup around it as well. There are two cups. There's one that's made to fit over the nipple, and then there's one that's made to fit over the clitoris or your whole vulva area. So it's a really strong suction. It sucks and licks at the same time, and I have one. It's one of the good ones. We have to wrap up, but we are here till the end of today. We are here tomorrow. So So if you want to have a one-on-one, you want to come and ask us more questions about the product, you can come up to our stand, or you can visit our website. It's odoasem.com. We have a shop in Lashibi. The whole store is online. We're on Instagram, Facebook. You can find us if you have any follow-up questions. Thank you all so much for your time.
Fatima, are you going to announce? Do we need to?
Okay, thank you, Adiza. Please, the final panel for today is happening in a few minutes. Kindly, we would have to rearrange the chairs back to the initial setting, because the panel is going to happen on the stage. So if you can please help us, thank you.